Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again, and today I'm going to talk about my weekly fragrance rotation for last week, which was Gourmand week. So I'm going to talk about the 7 fragrances that I chose, so stay tuned for that. If you like the content, guys, hit that like and subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. So before we get into the video, guys, leave a comment down below. What is your favorite Gourmand fragrance? Now, it was officially Gourmand week, and I decided that I was going to take part in that because I love Gourmand fragrances. I'm going to tell you the 7 fragrances I chose. I don't really remember the order, so they're going to be in no particular order, but these are the fragrances that I chose. I wore Gourmand by Parfums de Marly. This is a really beautiful and potent fragrance. I get like a lot of honey and cinnamon, and it is a honey cinnamon bomb in my opinion. A lot of people say it smells like apple pie, which I don't agree with. I don't get any apple vibe at all. And apple is actually not a note at all. So some people do pick up apple. I don't know if it has to do with triggering memory because of the rest of the ingredients or something like that. But for me, it does not work that way. It smells very much like a bakery, and in the dry down, deep in the dry down, I start to get kind of a cookie vibe. But it is a very potent one because it projects like a monster and for a long time. So this has like between 3 and 4 hours projection, strong projection. And then it has very heavy sillage as well. So it is what people think of when they think of the performance of Parfums de Marly. Gourmand is an excellent example of that. Going back to the smell, I would say something that a lot of people have mentioned when I've worn it is that it reminds them of Christmas. I don't really get that vibe, but I do get the idea of all the baked goods and just not a particular baked good, but baked goods in general. That's really the vibe that I get. And I do love this one. It is probably my favorite from Parfums de Marly, although it's a little debatable, but it's definitely in the top 3. I do love that one very much. Now, for me, no Gourmand week would be complete without wearing Italica. This is amazing. I've talked about this fragrance before. I've talked about some of the inspirations, which are very good, but I had to go with the original, and it is a very beautiful, creamy almond biscuit vibe. Very nice and sensual, heavy sillage. It has a really nice sort of strawberry note in the beginning, in the opening. It's fairly faint. It's not really a strong strawberry, but it is there. It doesn't last more than, for me, about 30 minutes to an hour. And then it basically becomes that creamy almond biscuit, which lasts a very long time. This one lasts easily for me 12 hours. The sillage is very strong for probably around 8 hours. So not a huge projection monster, but it's one that's going to leave a heavy trail. If you walk past someone, if someone gets into your bubble, they're going to smell it. And for me, again, this is such a sensual fragrance. It just works so well. I love it. Another fragrance that for me just couldn't be ignored is Black Phantom by Kilian. This is one of the very first 10 out of 10 fragrances that I ever smelled. This has coffee, it has rum, it has almonds, it has chocolate. It really has everything a gourmand lover could want. It works so well. It is also a very sensual fragrance. This one also performs extremely well. For the first 2 to 3 hours, it's extremely loud, very beast mode projection, several feet easily off my skin. And it does have very good sillage for a long time. Also lasts a very long time. This one, I get about 12 hours performance with it, so no complaints there. And it smells just absolutely gorgeous. I love this one. The 4th one I wore is Moula Moula by Byron Parfums. They do have some good releases. This is still my favorite. This is definitely more of a unisex leaning feminine fragrance. To me, I love it, so I don't really care about that labeling or that vibe because it just works so well. But it does have a lot of fruits in it that are often in feminine fragrances, but it's gorgeous. It has like these red berries. It has, I believe, even maybe peach in it, and it has caramel, and it just is a treat to wear. very sensual as well. Fairly loud as well. I would say the projection, very strong projection for about 2 hours. Then it does simmer down a little bit and has nice performance after that. I get about 8 hours on that one, so nothing really to complain about, but it is an absolutely stunning Gourmand fragrance. If you haven't tried that one out, I also definitely recommend it. Especially as the weather is getting colder, I thought it would also be nice to wear a coffee heavy fragrance, and there really is only one that can be chosen, and that's Follow by Kerosene. Probably out of the coffee fragrances I've smelled, the best one, and it is definitely one that is actually coffee dominant and stays coffee dominant. A lot of the fragrances that are coffee fragrances have a fairly strong note in the opening, but it does sort of fade off. Not the case with Follow by Kerosene. Absolutely gorgeous. I love the really dark, rich black coffee vibe in the opening. It really dries down to something more like an espresso. It has a little bit more creaminess and a little more sweetness. And it is really good. It has a nice performance. This is one that's interesting, I think, because a lot of people definitely may not even think that you're wearing a fragrance. They might think you're drinking a coffee, or there's coffee brewing in the room or something like that. But it smells amazing. Someone on Fragrantica mentioned that this smells better than a Starbucks. Absolutely agree. Far better than a Starbucks. My favorite coffee fragrance, one of my favorites from Kerosene. That is what I wore. Now I did decide to go with one more from Kerosene, and that is Unknown Pleasures. This is one that has a really interesting sort of lemony biscuit vibe in the opening that reminds me a little bit of those sort of biscuits that I used to get from my grandmother, and they have a little bit of a lemony smell and taste to them. And it dries down into a beautiful waffle cone. Sugary, sugar-coated waffle cone. Very unique and very interesting. And I must say, I really do like it. The opening isn't my favorite, but I really do like the dry down. It works very well. Also has very good sillage, leaves a nice scent trail for probably 2 or 3 hours, and it does again have decent projection. So again, this one performs well as well. And finally, the last one I wore, the absolute true apple pie smell, and that is Rose All Day by Gallagher Fragrances. This is one I'm going to have to pick up a bottle of because I love gourmands, and this is such a beautiful, rich apple pie. It even has this note that's metallic that's sort of supposed to simulate the idea of an apple pie baking in a pan. And to me, it absolutely accomplishes that, although it's not a very heavy metallic note, and I really only do get it for a little bit during the opening. But this is such a rich, beautiful apple pie fragrance. Very high class. I think this smells like the kind of apple pie that you'd go to a fancy restaurant and get. Just absolutely amazing. If you really want a fragrance that smells like a warm apple pie, that is the one. It's absolutely amazing. So I hope you guys also had fun during Gourmand Week. I hope you guys also took part and enjoyed it. It's probably the best week of the year, in my opinion. But that's what I wore, guys. That's it for this one, guys. If you haven't checked out any of the fragrances I mentioned, definitely go out and check them out. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.